Good afternoon. Good to see you guys. It's been a while. I think last Sunday was the last time I was on. So I was really adamant that I'm going to jump on today. I know I wouldn't be able to come on tonight because we have Bible study at church, but I wanted to get on here and finalize our dream talk, because tomorrow night we start our dream interpretation course, and I am so excited. So I wanted to finalize that. I wanted to give people last chances to register. Several days ago I had opened up a payment plan. I just didn't think we needed one for the course, but obviously we did. So we opened up the payment plan option for the dream interpretation course last week, and I traveled, and so we got back to most of you guys on Sunday. So we've extended it in terms of keeping it open a little bit longer for people who wanted to take the course but just needed the payment plan option. So that's still available. I am being extremely gracious. Let me turn down some of these the lights. It's too bright and it's bouncing off of my face. Okay. All right. So I've been extremely gracious, and I keep extending the payment plan option, but we will be taking it down tonight. So if you really want to take the dream interpretation course, but you need a little bit more time to pay it off, you can still do that until tonight. I'm going to go into my stuff, but we have opened up registration for the School of the Prophets for our fivefold school. So this year, the way that it's structured is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're going to deal with the office of a teacher, office of a pastor, and the office of evangelist. We're going to train you. We're going to activate you. We're going to propel you. You don't have to be in the office already. This school is for people who feel like they may be called into those offices. We're going to have some good, amazing speakers that are coming alongside with me to teach that whole week. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is the School of the Prophet. So we're dealing with people who have the prophetic gift, as well as those that are called into the prophetic office. Let me, this computer, it is so bright. So that's the school, and you can pay for the whole school and be there for each of the offices. You could pay for half of the school if you're more pastor, teacher, evangelist, or just the prophet, or you can, we have broken it up that way. So registration is open for that as well. All right, let's go straight into this. So we've been talking about dreams, and we've been talking about how God communicates through dreams. I probably titled this wrong, but one of the things that I want us to, someone is saying, as you still after the apparel for the wedding. I'm going to a big wedding. One of my young mentors is getting married, and she's Malawian, and her fiance is Nigerian, like my husband and I. And for those of you who know African weddings, they are absolutely so fun, and you get to deck out. But no, I have gotten the clothes. Thank you. So sorry, my ADHD is kicking in, right? Back to what we were talking about. I was talking about the prophetic and how God communicates. So within dreams, God is going to be communicating a particular message. And one of the things that you have to understand is what kind of message he's communicating. And those messages are the same in any of the prophetic realms. So the way that God communicates with our eyes open, he communicates through visions. We call those open visions. That's like a camera flashing or a movie in front of you, right? He communicates with our eyes closed. When you're not in the deep realm sleep, that's called open visions. That's right when you're about to fall asleep and right when you're about to wake up. And then the deep realm sleep is dreams, which is what we've been talking about the last several weeks, right? Someone says, what if you don't dream? That's why I'm doing this Periscope, because God communicates in more ways than one, right? So for those that don't dream, you may still have night visions. That's right when you're about to fall asleep or right when you wake up. Or you may not have any visions at all. You have some people who operate strictly in what we call the seeing realm, which is the open visions, the dreams, and the night visions. Some of you guys, God just communicates to you by hearing, and it sounds like your voice. Most of what we hear is called our inner voice, and it sounds like the voice of God. It could also sound like your own voice. It could also sound like the enemy's voice. So what you need to do is you need to understand the nature and the character of God. And we have reviewed what the enemy's voice sounds like, what God's voice sounds like. You can watch previous YouTube videos that I have up where the inner voice is going to sound like yours, but the content of what's being said is going to help you discern whether this is God's voice or whether it's me or whether it's the enemy. So we have the hearing realm, which is the inner voice. Most of us, that's where we stay. You have the audible hearing realm, which is like the voice coming from the outside in, and that is very rare. Very few people have those encounters. It's literally like a megaphone speaking into your spirit, and those audible voice experiences are for when God really wants to get a message to you, or a really critical juncture in your life. And usually most people don't hear audibly. Okay. Then you have what we call the sensing realm. So people that are high in discernment operate out of the sensing realm. This is when you can feel your environment. That's when you feel fine, but you walk somewhere and your stomach gets queasy, or you feel fire under your feet, or you feel a lightness, or you feel the presence of God, or you feel the demonic. Usually the discerning realm has to do with your body. And so this has to do with an awareness in how our body communicates to us. Most people that are discerning feel it. People that are discerning also know it. So they can just encounter someone and know something about their spirit. Discernment is the ability to distinguish between good and evil, between environments, between atmospheres. And so if you have a gift of discernment, you may feel a lot. And I'll teach more on this, because we're going to be teaching you guys to prepare you for the School of the Prophets and the Fivefold School. So I'll be teaching a little bit more on that as the days to come. So you have the discerning or the feeling or the sensing realm. But God also communicates through his word. If you don't hear, if you don't sense, if you don't see, study the word. The word of God will come alive and you'll have revelation of what God is saying. God communicates through angels. Angels still visit people. Angels still release messages. There are angels assigned to each of our lives. There are angels assigned to ministries. The angels assigned to children. They're merely ministers. They're not things that we worship, but they are part of our world. And just because you don't understand them does not mean they don't exist. And just because you're afraid or you have had a weird experience does not mean that they don't want to engage you and engage your world to help bring forth some things that have been delayed. And so maybe at some point I'll do a course. I did a course, I think 2 years ago, on angels and healing and how they work together. So I may do a course on that at some point. God will speak through people that you know. He will speak. So a lot of you guys will email us, or you email me and say, you appeared in my dream and this is what happened. When people in leadership, when people in authority or in the fivefold appear in your dream, it's going to be one or two things, right? Now, if things that are going on are negative and you're seeing them going through negative things, the Lord may be saying intercede for them, right? But if they come to you with a godly message, it's literally God saying that person has a word for you, or you need to connect with that person, or God is using that person as his voice, because people in the fivefold are mouthpieces for the Lord. And so God will use people that you're familiar with, or people you may never have met but just seen on TV, and they will appear to you in a dream or in a vision, and they'll release an impartation, or they'll release a message, because God will use his mouthpieces to speak into your life. Now, this is the main crook of why I got onto Periscope Facebook, and someone gave me a word to merge them together, and they called it Facescope. All right, so this is my Facescope, because I Periscope and I Facebook at the same time. So the reason I got on my Facescope today was because I wanted to give you guys clarity concerning the content of what is communicated, whether it's in dreams or in the prophetic realm in general. So whether you're hearing, whether you're sensing, whether you're feeling, whether you're reading, whether you had a prophetic word from someone come and they tell it to you, God is going to be communicating one or four things. He's going to be communicating words of knowledge. This is information that could be about you or somebody else concerning your present or your past. Okay? He's going to be communicating words of wisdom. These are creative solutions concerning you or somebody else. Okay? He's going to be communicating actual prophecy. This is information that actually has to do with the future. And so we talked about different categories of dreams. I gave you guys 5. I told you those that have registered for the course, you're going to learn about 22 different types of dreams. But warning dreams are prophecy dreams or prophetic dreams, right? A comforting dream could be a word of knowledge dream, because it has to do with your present or your past. But this, whether it's in the dream state or you're awake and someone is prophesying to you, what they give you are words of knowledge, knowledge, words of wisdom, words of prophecy. Those that are part of our church that are being trained as prophets and prophetic gifts, this is what we're going to drill on. We have a boot camp coming up. And so one of the things that's key, if somebody is a prophet, they should be able to walk in words of knowledge, words of wisdom, prophecy, and discernment. They should be able to switch in and out of those easily. If someone has the gift of prophecy, usually they're going to be strong in one or two. So one of the ways I differentiate between someone who has just a gift of prophecy and someone who's a prophet is their frequency and their ability to go and switch within words of knowledge, words of wisdom, prophecy, and discerning. If you have a gift, you're usually going to operate in high discernment and maybe words of knowledge. Now, this is the thing. A lot of people think evangelists are prophets because evangelists walk in really high words of knowledge. And so if you're not learned in the fivefold, you think, oh my gosh, they're able to call out sicknesses and they were able to have information about someone's present or their past. They must be a prophet. No, they just have a high level of words of knowledge. Evangelist needs to, because when they're winning souls, people that don't know Jesus, they should be able to prophesy. They should be able to have a word of knowledge which talks about who they are and where they're going. So sometimes evangelists have a high prophetic gift and they get thrown into the office of a prophet and it throws everything off. Evangelists have a very difficult time staying still. They have a very difficult time being in one place. Now, there are different levels of evangelists or types, but for the majority, evangelists love to be outside bringing people in. And so you have to be clearly positioned, and that's one of the things we're going to do at the fivefold school that we have open registration up. Clearly name you, because we have certain people that you have a particular gift and then you get named one thing, and a lot of times when you're in an environment that's very closed in or they don't have a really big understanding of the gifts or of the fivefold, like for example, if you grow up in a church where the women were all evangelists or missionaries, that's what they're gonna name you based on their understanding, right? But if you get into another atmosphere that have an understanding of the fivefold, they'll say, no, there's a teaching grace on your life. You're a teacher. You're not a missionary. You're not an evangelist. You're an apostolic teacher. And so it's really important to understand that your environments help name you. And that's why we've been saying you've got to be properly planted in the right types of environments so that you don't get misnamed. I work with a lot of people that, I was just working with somebody yesterday. I'm like, why are you pastoring? There's no pastoral grace on your life. It has been seen by the fruit that has not been able to be birthed in the ministry. She thought she was supposed to pastor. No, she has an apostolic grace to train and to build. She's supposed to have a para-ministry that comes alongside churches. But because of the environment, she got placed in an environment, or she got named, or maybe that's all she knew, right? She started pastoring and there's been no fruit. There's been no grace. One of the ways that you know you're properly positioned or operating in your gift is that there is a level of joy, there's a level of grace, and there is fruit. And you guys know me, righteousness, peace, and joy. Those are the things that you're supposed to look for. And sometimes we don't think there's joy just because it's a hard thing. But if there's righteousness, meaning if that hard, difficult thing is making you better, is making you look like more like Jesus, just because you're not happy about it does not mean you're misplaced. Joy is not just the fruit of happiness. Joy and happiness are two different things. Joy is a knowing, and it's a stability in who you are, understanding that the presence of God is on your life. Happiness is based on your circumstances. So you can't be led by how happy you are, but when you really look at everything that's happening, yes, this is a tough season, but I am growing in righteousness, I am growing in peace, then I have joy, and I'm stable in that. Okay, so I'm going into the fivefold stuff. I'm going to teach you guys on that for the next several months, because we want you guys to invest. Come to Raleigh, come and get trained, come and get equipped. And last year at our School of the Prophets, we had apostles and stuff that came because they have prophets in their church, but they don't know how to train them. They don't have the languaging. And so some of you guys are like, I already know who I am. I don't need to come. But this is also a school in which that helps you train people that you're called to develop. All right. So back to the dream class. You're still able to register. I'm going to take some questions from you guys because I don't have a lot of time today on the prophetic realm, on dreams. I'm not going to interpret dreams, but you can ask me structural questions concerning the prophetic or how God communicates, because the scripture says that that all should prophesy. That all should prophesy. So the spirit of prophecy is the simplest level of the prophetic realm. And every believer should be able to hear God's voice. Every believer should be able to encourage somebody from time to time. That's the lowest and simplest level. The next level is the gift of prophecy. These are people that actually have one of the 9 spiritual gifts that fall under the prophetic umbrella. You have words of wisdom or words of knowledge or discernment or actual prophecy. These people may be called to be in the secular realm, work in the marketplace, but they can prophesy or be part of a prophetic team. Then you have actual prophets, and these people, their whole life is their message, and they're called to build the church. And they're not going to be okay and content just being a teacher. If they do that, they may also be a prophet in their church. It's part of their mandate. So I'll teach you guys more on that in the weeks to come. I'll teach you on the fivefold a little bit more, and I want you guys to invest in this school. If you have any ministry call, if you were ever ordained, confirmed, or any of that, you should know whether you're a teacher, whether you're an evangelist, whether you're a prophet, whether you're an apostle or prophet or a pastor. That's the other thing I see. People are like, oh yeah, I've been ordained, I'm a minister. I'm like, well, what are you? I mean, what does that mean? You're a minister. What does that mean? Are you in, what is your fivefold office? What is your function? What have you been called to do? We have payment plans for the school. So we do have payment plans for all the schools. You go to AskDrFaith.com/School of the Prophets or AskDrFaith.com and pay, and you can access all our schools. All right, questions. We still have the payment plan up for the Dream Class too. How to find your gifts? Some said ministry for me. You find your gifts by studying the spiritual gifts. That's the first place. There's spiritual gifts assessment online that you can Google and take. I know some people emailed us wanting us to send them our assessments without scheduling an appointment. I don't do that because that's not responsible. If I'm going to give you an assessment, I want you to schedule an appointment so that we can review it together. But if you want to do it on your own, you can Google it. There's spiritual gifts out there that you can take. That's the first place. Ideally, every church should have part of your growth track or part of your ingrainment into the culture of the church is a spiritual gifts assessment. Someone has said, is the school online? It is, but I would rather people come live because there are impartations that you get live that you will not get online. So you guys know I'm an online virtual, my whole business is, but when it came to the fivefold school and the School of the Prophets, God said to begin to create a live experience because there's going to be more deposit live than it is than you just watching. All right, can demons interrupt a dream from God if initial? Yes, and I've shared this before. You could have a dream that's very beautiful and it's going really well, and then something weird interrupts it or comes in, or you even have a weird experience when you wake up. Usually the enemy will do that to disrupt what God has said or the message that he's trying to do. But all you have to do is close the gates and say, I will not entertain any demonic activity as I sleep. You're illegally intruding, and I say no in Jesus' name, and you should begin to be able to go through all your dreams. If you want to make an appointment with me, you email info@askdrfaith.com. And I'll put up those addresses. Someone was asking, can they make an enter? Why do I always have bad dreams? You may have bad dreams because the Lord has called you into the dream realm, and the enemy is trying to scare you from dreams. So he wants you to say, no, I don't want to have dreams anymore. And it calls you. There's probably generational issues that you need deliverance from. If there's open doors of sin, if you struggle with anxiety and fear, you will have bad dreams. So you probably need some deliverance. Do you take phone appointments? Yes, all our appointments are via phone or Skype. Is an apostle a missionary? Okay, I like this question because it leads to what we're getting ready to do. So in July, we have our first Nations and Mission School, right? So the job of an apostle is to pioneer, create, and develop. That's not only their only job. And my good friend Jonathan Walton has written some amazing books on equipping the fivefold. He's one of the speakers that's coming. I didn't want to announce yet because we're finalizing stuff. But missionaries can be missionaries without being apostles. Apostles are sent ones, and they go into a land to develop it, to release the kingdom of God into it. It may be a different country. It may be a region that is in their city. And as they do that, it's a missionary work in a sense. You can be an apostle, you can be a missionary and not be an apostle. Missionaries are people that can come alongside a vision that has already been established in a place. The difference between an apostle and a missionary, apostles usually will start the work and will pioneer it, or they will shift it and take it to a different level. Whereas missionaries, a lot of times missionaries have the temperament where they don't really start stuff. They go and they come alongside, and they may go somewhere and they begin to develop a heart for those people, and the pioneering grace comes upon them. But if you're an apostle, you're a missionary. But just because you're a missionary does not make you an apostle. Okay? You can be a teacher that ends up being a missionary that's called to a nation. You can be an evangelist that's called to a nation. You could be a pastor that God has called you to pastor in a different nation. That doesn't make you apostolic. Thank you for coming to Turlock. I loved it. I was in California this week with Jennifer Eves, and it was amazing. All right, and let's see what other questions you guys have. And I have like 2 minutes. I dreamt of flying above women and babies. What could this mean? I already covered flying dreams. If you go back to my YouTube, you can go over the categories of dreams. I was told that would be a prophetic voice. What can I do to heighten my supernatural experiences? All right. So in order to be more prophetic, you don't want to focus on heightening your experiences. You want to focus on heightening your intimacy. In order to be more prophetic, you don't want to focus on heightening your experiences. You want to focus on heightening your intimacy. Because if you focus on experiences, it can lead you into realms that are not healthy and that are not good. But if you focus on intimacy, knowing God, loving Him, praying until you encounter His glory, releasing worship until you feel His presence, devoting your life to be a friend of God, then God will begin to open you up to realms and to revelation. Friends, He tells secrets to, right? So when we talk about the supernatural and the prophetic, we're not chasing after the encounters, we're chasing after intimacy. And encounters are a byproduct of people who walk intimately with God. Okay? Now, there are people that have what we call pseudo encounters, because we have false prophets who will show you signs and wonders, but their life does not look as one who walks with God. One of the things that you're going to look for someone who not only has high revelation, but also has a deep intimacy with God, is that their life is marked by holiness. Their life is marked by separation unto God. Their life is marked by an unyielding devotion to a non-compromising stance. Their life is marked by love. Their life is marked by the fruit of the Spirit. So you don't want to just look for high experiences and high revelation, because a lot of people chase into that, and familiar spirits and even the demonic can aid in having someone having those. That doesn't impress me. When I encounter someone who calls out phone numbers or whatever, I want to say, how well do you love? How well do you love people? How well do you forgive? Tell me about your walk with the Lord on a daily basis. If that level of intimacy is just as high as it is on their gifting, then you can say, yeah, this is really a prophetic voice, or this is someone that has been marked. But you have a lot of people that have, and a lot of us need to stop. This is a rebuke. Stop chasing after the signs and wonders, and you haven't examined a person's life. Look at their Facebook. Look at their content. Look at how they talk to people. One of the things that we have to do as leaders, my husband and I, we're teaching some of our leaders, not all of them, that have come out of religious settings. Different settings will teach you to preach at people. Come on, you're not hearing what I'm saying. You, right? And the preacher is kind of like sitting on this pedestal, judging the people that they're watching. They can never say we. We are all struggling with this issue. They'll say stuff like you were at the club last night. Well, you were watching pornography the other night, right? And so there's cultural differences, but there's also, you can tell a difference between someone who really walks in intimacy and someone who's just walking out of a gift. Okay? And so you need to be very, very careful. Don't get so excited about gifts and the supernatural and you haven't judged their level of intimacy and their level of devotion to the Lord. Okay? All right. I gotta go. I'll jump on. Do I do mentoring? I do not do direct mentoring, but I have 4 mentors that I have developed that mentor people. We are opening up registration to our mentoring network. One of those is my mother. I have 2 spiritual daughters that are amazing that mentor. And we have a son. So if you're interested in being mentored by the Destiny Mentoring Network, we're going to be opening that up soon, and you'll be able to fill out the application and be interviewed to be mentored by one of our people. And I'll be doing group mentoring for everybody that's part of that. Okay? Guys, you can still sign up for the dream interpretation. If you're a coach or a mentor, you feel like you're called to those things, we have our certification program starting up May 4th. You can register for that as well. Our job at Ask Dr. Faith is to equip you with resources to live a brilliant life, to walk out the calling of God on your life. And so go register. All right, bless you guys. I got to go pick up my babies. Talk to you soon. Hopefully I'll be able to jump back on this week again to continue. All right, bye-bye.